Hello crafty friends, this is the Papered Chef here. In today's Canvas Workspace tutorial, you are going to learn how to weld shapes and fonts. First, I'd like to thank you for supporting my YouTube channel. I've just reached over 20,000 subscribers and I'm very grateful to you. You're the ones that came up with this topic as well. My ScanNCut user group on Facebook voted for this tutorial topic. So I'm going to cover as much as I can and hopefully you will be able to apply these concepts to your personal projects. So what I'm going to start with is just welding shapes. When I click on the shapes icon inside of Canvas, you're going to see the panel pop out. And I'm going to put a square on the screen, and I could easily just put a rectangle on the screen. It doesn't matter if I start with a square or rectangle because I'm going to resize it into the shape of a rectangle. Okay, I can just double click on the shape, or I can just drag it to the screen or to the mat. I might call it the mat, I might call it the screen. So at this point, I must stop and just explain something to you. If you are looking at this saying, Papered Chef, I do not see what you see. My screen doesn't look anything like yours. I want to point out that I'm using the installed version of Canvas Workspace. I'm going to the Help menu about Canvas Workspace to show you which version I'm using. I'm using version 2.3.1. You can download and install for free Canvas Workspace for the PC, and it works on different versions of computers such as Windows and your Mac, and so you can download it. You're going to go to support.brother.com, and I will have a link in the description of this video. There's a reason I'm using this version of Canvas Workspace, and that is so I can access the fonts on my computer, which we will do in a little while. So here I have the shape on the screen. I'm going to go over here to the right side where we have different panels, and I'm in the Properties panel now, but I'm going to click on the second one, which is the Edit. Now that I'm in Edit, I can resize this exactly. I'm unchecking Maintain Aspect Ratio because I want to make a rectangle. I'm making the rectangle 5.9 wide and 1.96 high. Sometimes my viewers want to see my projects ahead of time, and I'm not showing you the project that this is going to apply to until the end of the video, because I want you to understand that it doesn't really matter. You're going to learn these concepts and apply them to your own projects. What I'm doing happens to be making some Halloween treats, but again, I'm teaching you skills that you can apply to whatever project you have. So I have a rectangle and it's 5.9 by 1.6 inches high. I'm going to try to make I always use my ScanNCut to solve problems. Let's start there. You always should use your ScanNCut to make your life easier. And one thing that would be easier for me, instead of cutting a lot of designer series paper out, my pretty papers, and lining my boxes with them for decorating them, it would be a lot easier if the ScanNCut could just create box liners for me. So I'm going to duplicate this rectangle. Let's duplicate it. I'm just right clicking with my mouse and I'm clicking duplicate. You can also go to the layers menu and duplicate in the layers menu as well. And we could be in the layers panel doing that, but let's just say that there's more than one way to do everything I'm showing you. So you can just learn the ways I'm showing you and then find your own shortcuts as you do it more. So now I have a second rectangle. So let's move that off of the first one. I'm just moving it away so you can see I have two rectangles. So I want to rotate this second rectangle. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. Now I could use this little handle to rotate it. Right? Why did it rotate so perfectly 90 degrees? Because I was holding my Shift key on my keyboard. I'm going to go ahead and undo that. The undo command is Control-Z, and I'm just going to show you that in the Edit panel, you can just click 90 degrees, and that will rotate it exactly for you as well. Now, when you're working with boxes, as I'm going to be putting this inside a box, I need these to be aligned exactly. or it really wouldn't have helped me. I would have been better off just, if it's not aligned exactly, it'll become a wonky box, and it's just better if you do things precisely. So I'm going to select both objects by dragging a selection around them with my mouse. And I'm going to go to Object, Align Objects. I'm aligning them both in the center and in the middle. And other terms for that are I'm aligning these vertically and horizontally. Okay, so you may hear me use these terms interchangeably. So now what I want to do is let me click away so you can see where we're at. So let me explain something before I do some welding, because that's what this tutorial is about, welding, right? But we needed to work up to it. If I were to, just let's say I'm going to transfer this to my ScanNCut right now. And I'm like, it looks like exactly what I want. It's the exact size and it's going to fit inside my box. It's my box liner. Okay, so what would happen right now if I transferred this to my machine is it would cut along every black line there. And I would end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would end up with 5 boxes because it's cutting along the lines. I don't want that. I need to weld this shape together so it cuts out as one shape. So I weld these two shapes together. Okay, so we have 2 rectangles. We're going to weld them together. So I'm going to select them both. Now they're both selected. I drag my mouse over them. I'm going to go to Edit, Process Overlap, and I'm going to click Weld. Okay, that's perfect. That's the size of the box liner that I want. So this is going to fit in what's called a clear tiny treat box. Now, wouldn't it be really nice though if I didn't have to fold these papers? If I would just be able to slip this right into the box. Okay, so let's do that. We're going to take a square, put a square on the mat. Okay, and we're going to make that square the size I need, which, remember how high my rectangle was earlier, 1.96? That's what I want my square to be. So now I'm going to go ahead and check off Maintain Aspect Ratio. And I have a 1.96 inch square. So what I need to do next is I need to explain again that this square is going to cut. So I don't want it to actually cut through my liner. So we're going to I want it to be here. Okay, first of all, I want it to be there. So I'm going to move it away for a second though. But if I put it there again, I'm going to have 5 boxes. So what I need to do is make this, I want to have these scored. The lines on this box, the square, I want to be scored. Just to explain, the Brother ScanNCut doesn't actually do scoring unless you're using the embossing starter kit. That's the only way it does proper scoring. It actually does scoring by dashing a line. So it takes the blade and it creates a dashed line. So let's go up to the top, to the Properties panel. And I'm just going to create a dash pattern on this square. Okay? Creating a dash pattern is going to create a way for the ScanNCut to score that. Now I'm going to just show you the different options for your dashes. So this one the second one would do a little bit, it would be a little bit fainter scoring. The first one with the little blade lines close together is actually the way that I like to do it sometimes for this kind of box because I want it to be scored very easily. So we're going to click on the first one. Okay, now let me click away and then I'm going to zoom in and then I'm going to save my file and then we'll do some more work. Okay, so I've zoomed in so you can see that that's going to be the scoring line. We're going to align that in a moment, but I just noticed that I have an untitled Canvas Workspace file and I really need to save it before we move on. So let's do that. All right, so I just saved it and I'm calling it Box Liner. Okay, that's what I'm calling it. So now you can save the file wherever you want on your computer. I just happen to make a folder called Canvas Workspace. Now let's align let's select both these objects. So now I have the scored square in the middle, and I have the box on the outside, and I'm going to align these. So let's go over to the edit panel. Okay, align in the center, align in the middle. Now we want to group these because when I send it to my machine to cut it, it's going to, we want them to be in one group so they don't like come apart, they stay together. Okay, so let's go up to layer, group. And you can see that there's a keyboard shortcut, Control G, or I could have done the right click, which I did earlier, I showed you, where you could right click and group, where you right click over your item. So there's many ways to group items. Okay, so now we have one object and it's going to cut out. We could, let me zoom back out. We could make multiples of these. Okay, we could right click, duplicate, we could rotate so that more than one fit on the mat in certain ways. You see how the black lines won't be on top of each other? Do you see how that I could fit more by rotating them? But let's not do all that. Let's just cut one to see where we're at. I'm just explaining that you can fit more on your mat by rotating them, and that you could duplicate this. And that's what I do. I put many shapes on the mat before I cut it out. But let's just get this far. Let's put it as close as we can to the side of the mat. You don't want to go outside the red line. That's the cutting area. Although the machine gives you a little more leeway for cutting area. We're going to send this to our machine and we're going to cut it. So let's go File, Transfer FCM file via the internet. Now it's going to be on my machine. Okay, the register machine is ready to download the transferred file from the internet. Okay, so let's go do a real quick cut of this file. Crafty friends, in this section of the video, I will show you how to retrieve the file we just created in Canvas Workspace and how to cut it out using your SDX125. I also recently showed a video on my YouTube channel where I cut out vinyl using the CM350. And I didn't use wireless transfer for that video. I used a USB stick. So there's many other skills you'll learn. So please look in the description for that recent video. All right, but we're using SDX125. So when you get to the home screen, you're going to see pattern and scan and retrieve data and test. We want this button here, retrieve data. And the way you can retrieve the data is from the machine, the wireless transfer like we just used, the USB stick, or from a cable. We're going to use this wireless transfer. We're going to get the file from Canvas. Now you can get the last file you worked on, and this is the last file we worked on. So there it is, and you can see we're going to cut out that box liner. So go ahead and click OK. Now we have auto blade technology. However, and we're going to click OK and we're going to say cut. However, I recently changed my settings for cutting some vinyl. Therefore, I need to make sure that I turn back off half cut. Half cut is when you're cutting vinyl. So I need to make sure I need to get all my settings back to their defaults. Default settings are when you have, sorry, I have to go up. The little black square around these are the default settings. You shouldn't have to worry about any of these if you've never messed with them. I'll explain those in a minute when we get to the vinyl part of this tutorial. But let's just say I'm going back to the settings and I'm not changing a thing. I'm using all the default settings, okay? All the default settings. And I'm using auto blade technology, meaning I don't have to set a blade depth like you would on a CM model. I'm letting the machine determine the blade depth. Okay, so I'm going to click OK. Now, why does it take 2 minutes? Okay, it takes 2 minutes because you're thinking, well, it's only one little box, right? One little square. It might not take a whole 2 minutes. It means that it takes more than one, but less than two. It's the little dashes that I told you about. Those little dashes that we're cutting, those are going to be, that's why it's taking a little bit longer. It's finished cutting. We're going to click OK. And I will go ahead and I will unload the mat. And now I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to show you the rest of the papers. Okay, so let me get my light here. Turn on my light because it's easier when you have a light to see this part. Now what I want to do is I'm going to peel the designer series paper off the mat. I'm going to show you this paper, but I want to show you where we're at so far in this tutorial and how this just doing this solved a problem for me. And again, I would cut out a bunch of these at once on the different. All right, so I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator, and you may or may not know. So I like to not just use the scan and cut, but I like to feature Stampin' Up products in my tutorials. Okay, so these are called the clear tiny treat boxes. We've had these for years. I absolutely love using these. They're very strong, very sturdy. Now look, they even come with this little sort of plastic, because they're food safe, they come with this little plastic covering around them. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm popping it. Here, let's put some other paper there. Let's put this there as a background for a second so you can get a better view of that. So I'm just popping it into place. And maybe the black side will make, maybe that side will make a better background. Yeah, there you go. Now you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm folding all the parts. We could have even used the scan and cut to make a little notch, but I don't need a little notch because this is a cute little liner for the box, and I wanted the liner. I didn't want to have to figure out where to put the notch, which way is going to be the front. It's a lot easier for me to figure out which will be the front, like later after it's cut. All right, so here's my box. So now let's take off this. After I got my, because I didn't want to get my fingerprints all over the box, but once I get the box sort of bent the way I want it, then I can peel this plastic off. See? Really nice. Now look at that. Nice, sturdy, shiny box. So you get, these are available now in my store. They'll be linked 16 in a pack. So now we're going to fold the bottom. And you might have boxes that you got from another store, and so you're going to make liners for your boxes, right? I'm teaching you a skill that you can apply to whatever projects you have. Okay, so here's our little box. Now let's put this, now you should get your little spatula, but I'm just using my Cricut spatula because this is what I was just using for my vinyl, to apply vinyl with. Now you gotta be careful with this because I just restuck my mat, and if you're not careful, you're gonna tear the score lines, which I'll show you in better detail. Right here, this is where you gotta be really careful. See how I'm getting my spatula under there? Very important. If you don't put your spatula under there, and you try to pull this up, you're gonna rip right through the score lines. The score lines are the dashed lines. Oops, let's see. Here they are. There you go. You can see it better on the black side. So let me focus that in. See that? These are the score lines. Well, I like the spider web to be on the outside. I like that spider web. It's just so cool. So I'm going to fold the score lines like this. And I'm going to put that spider web. It's the best one. I'm going to put that one up in the front of the box. See, that's why I don't put the notches, because I don't know which way I'm going to be cutting the paper. And if I would have put a notch, I would have put it there. But, right, it's just better that I don't have to worry about one more thing, about making sure the paper's going a certain way. So here we go. Now, because these boxes, they say they're 2 inches wide, but I found out that 1.96 inches, you saw the measurements I was using, fit perfectly for lining my box. I mean, they're perfect. It goes in, and once you put candy in there, which, I mean, I'm going to show you my projects at the end of this. This is all has a purpose, okay? This whole, the way I teach. If you like the way I teach it, I do have courses on way more detail on these things, but this is just, I have a reason for showing you at the end, because we're going to be doing more projects. Okay, so that's what you got so far. Okay, now real quick, I'll show you the paper, because while I have this video going, less editing the more I show you in each video clip. So what I just used is called Magic in This Night Designer Series paper. And by the time I edit this video and publish this video on YouTube, it will be August 4th. August 4th is the day that the new catalog goes live. The new August to December mini catalog. Okay, so check out this paper. So one side it's black with these really cool patterns. Okay, on the other side of the Designer Series paper, it has the coordinating colors. This I already used in some of the projects. Oh, and how I love the bats. Okay, so the coordinating colors you can see already are, you can see that we have Whisper White and Basic Black. Those are 2 coordinating colors. But check this out. Check out this side of the Designer Series paper. So the other coordinating colors are Blackberry Bliss. Blackberry Bliss, that's this one. Pretty Peacock, that's this one. And Cajun Craze. Okay, so all my projects are using Magic in This Night because, and some different vinyl, because I'm working on Halloween. That's what I'm working on. Okay, and I'll just show you those in a little detail. Get the spiders, cool patterns, flowers and spiders. I love this, my spider web patterns. Those are my favorite spider web patterns. And some roses. Okay, so now we're going back to the computer. Why? A little preview. Again, while I got the video going. So, little preview is there's another kind of box. Okay, we've just solved a problem. Now you understand how to make the liner for this one. Now let's show you how to make. We're going to go back to the tutorial and we're going to make a. We have 3 1/4 inch by 3 1/8 inch acetate card boxes. Okay, acetate card boxes. So now we're going to go make liners for these. This is a new product in this year's annual catalog. It came out in June. So I had already figured out this one last year. In fact, it's probably on YouTube already. But this one I just figured out. So now I'm going to show you how to work on that one. So we'll go back to the computer now. Thank you. Inside of Canvas Workspace, we're going to create another liner. Let's save the file we have now. And let's add to it. Okay, we're going to review some skills so I can go a little faster now. We're going to create a shape. We're going to put that shape on the mat. So let's put the square on the mat. Again, I could have started with a rectangle. It doesn't matter. I'm going to take my shape and I'm going to resize it. Okay, this rectangle is 4.5 inches wide by 3 inches high. Let's duplicate that shape. Taking the second shape, we're going to rotate the shape 90 degrees. So now we have 2 shapes, 2 rectangles. We're going to align those 2 together. We're going to select them both, align them, and then we're going to weld them. I make a selection around both rectangles, align them, and we're going to weld this into one shape. Go to Edit, Process Overlap, Weld. All right, so now we have the liner for the second box. We're going to zoom in, we're going to make that inside square, and we're going to create score lines for it. Okay, this time because I wanted a square, I checked off Maintain Aspect Ratio. And now I'm going to go inside of Properties, and I'm going to create the dash pattern. There's the dash pattern for my score lines. I'm going to put that inside of the shape. Select both shapes, go back to Edit, Align Center, Align Middle. Okay, and there we have it. So now the last thing is I want to group these 2 together so they don't move when I send them to the machine. Okay, Layer Group. Remember, I could have right-clicked and clicked on Group. And I don't have that option because they are grouped, but this is where you would ungroup if you want to ungroup. I'm just going to go ahead and group the objects again just to reinforce that. And then earlier when I was zoomed in, I think I put an extra square. Yes. When I double clicked on the shapes earlier, I put an extra square on the mat, so I'll delete that one. All right, so there you have it. You can put multiple liners on the same mat. Okay, so what we would do next is we're going to send this to our machine and we would cut it. Okay, so we're going to go to File, Transfer FCM file via the internet. Okay, and you would cut out that box liner. And I don't need to show you again how to retrieve the file and how to cut it out because you get the concept. We just showed you that in the last video. We're going to move on to the font section. Okay, so I told you I'd teach you how to weld fonts together. So we've just welded shapes, and the rest of the tutorial is about welding fonts and about using fonts. Okay, so we're going to leave those boxes on the screen because it doesn't matter because we can save the file with a different name later. So we're going to go to the text tool. We're going to click on text and we're going to use a font called October Twilight. Okay, so we're going to click on the font list. Okay, it's called October Twilight. Now I can click on fonts up at the top of the Canvas Workspace, or over here inside of properties, you can see the text to change your font there. So let's just write Boo, because I'm doing Halloween projects. I'm going to write Boo, B-O-O, with a capital B. B-O-O. So let's just say if I did have 3 separate letters, B-O-O, like block letters, I could weld those too, but it's a lot nicer to weld script font. Especially when you're going to cut this out in vinyl, you want it to cut out in one piece. So what do I mean by that? I'm going to have to zoom in so you can really see this. You see how, even though I just typed it all as one word, B-O-O, that there's little black lines that would separate these letters? If I were to cut this out in vinyl right now, I would have 3 separate objects. They would cut out as the B, and then where you see this black line, this letter would cut out separately. This letter would cut out separately. And although you have a script font, it would look like a hot mess when you're trying to use vinyl and they're cutting out separately like that. Or it doesn't matter, even if you're using cardstock. So we want to weld the letters together so you have one object. So right now, it's a text object. So let's go to the Layers panel and watch what happens. The text object is up there. It says text and it's Boo. Now watch when I go to Edit, Process Overlap, and Weld. Okay, do you notice that it turned into a shape object? And I cover this more in my courses, especially the course on, I have a lot of courses, but one of them is called Brother ScanNCut Working with Fonts, and I do go into this in more detail working with this Layers panel. But just notice what happened. See this? It is welded together. Okay, so the font is welded together. Now I can resize it. I suggest, because the program gets a little quirky, I suggest welding before you resize, before you do anything. When you first type your word onto your mat, then weld it, and then do your resizing and your things. All right, so let's talk about this and the reason I left the boxes there, and et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so let's scroll up. Okay, that's not going to fit on my top of my box, right? It's a little too big. But it would look really good on that little box for the top of that clear box. So let's go to Properties. Okay, let's go to Edit, and we'll go to look at the width, and 2.5 is actually the width I want. So that's good for the one. That fits good on the, that fits nicely on the box, on the clear, the little card box. But for the other one, let's duplicate this Boo. Duplicate it, and let's put it over here. We're going to make it smaller enough to fit on the other box. So maybe that box was 1.96 wide, so let's say 1.5. I think I can even go with 1.75. Okay, I tried different sizes earlier, and those, they worked well as long as it was about 1.5 inches wide. If any smaller than that, it was just too hard to cut out with vinyl. All right, so there we have it. So we have Boo in different sizes. We can decorate our box with some text that we've welded together. All right, so we'll stop for a second and talk about, again, I teach this in my course, and I can't go over every single detail in a tutorial for YouTube. It's time prohibitive. But I just want to explain that there are fonts that have things in them that are not letters. Okay, so let's just say that. So I got these fonts from dafont.com, and I'm going to have the link in the description. And again, I teach you how to install fonts in another course. But what I want to explain is I have this really cool font, and it has bats in it. Okay, so it's a font. It's an actual font with text, but it has bats. So how cool is that? So let's go to the text, and we're going to click on it. The font is called Freaky Halloween. Also, again, another font I downloaded for free for personal use from dafont.com. click on the mat. And if I were to type letters, right, A, B, C, D, lowercase, watch this. There's nothing in the font map, meaning there are no characters. There's no icons in the lowercase. It's all uppercase. So if I type capital A, capital B, capital C, capital D, you see that? I get icons. It's called an icon type of font. So this is so fun. So now I found all these like really cool Halloween shapes that cut out really nicely in vinyl. The reason I like using shapes that I find this way as opposed to SVG files sometimes is sometimes SVG files are too many colors, too complicated, and I like sometimes just things with one color. So the bat that I want is the capital letter I. So I'm going to hit Shift I, and I get a bat. Okay, so we're going to click away, and I have a bat. So in the layers panel, it is a text. Okay, it's text because I'm using the Freaky Halloween font. Okay, it's pretty cool, right? And also inside of this font, Freaky Halloween, are spiderweb. I'll show you a spiderweb later. But I just wanted to show you that. Okay, so I wanted to show you how to make a bat. So we can make different size bats. We could duplicate it. Rotate them if you want to fit more on the mat, etc., etc. Resize them if you want. Okay, I don't need to weld these though. I don't need to weld them because there's nothing to weld. It's only one, it's a text shape, and it's just going to cut along the black line. Okay, another font that I got from dafont.com while I'm on the Halloween topic is called Halloween Cuties, or it's called Hallow Cuties, Hallo Cuties. And if I type A, B, C, D, nothing, right? But when I type capital A, B, right, C, D, then I get these different icons. They're just super cute. But these other ones, I just wanted to put these on there. The other ones are not very easy to cut out because you're going to get a lot of extra lines. They're easy to cut out, but not with vinyl. So I want the second one, the bat, because it was very easy to cut out with vinyl. And that's it. So that was the capital letter B in the Hello Cuties font. And I have an example of how I cut that out as well. We're going to take, we'll put everything we need to cut in vinyl together. We'll group it. And then when I get to the machine, I'll show you how to just cut out the vinyl part. So let's put all this together. Okay, so I'm going to cut out these objects in vinyl. So I'm just going to go ahead and group them. All right, so I grouped the font that we welded. Now we didn't need to weld these. This one, this one, this one. We didn't need to weld them because they're already the way they need to be, just from the way, just right out of the font. So now let's transfer this to our machine. File. Transfer FCM file via the internet. And let's go cut out some vinyl. Now we're going to retrieve the files that we want to cut out in vinyl. This is the SDX125. We're going to click Retrieve Data. We're going to get it from Canvas Workspace. Okay, now here's what I want to cut out in vinyl. Okay, let me load the mat so I don't have to stand here and hold it with my hand so it doesn't fall off the table. Okay, so then I have my hands free. All right. Why did I send the file over? Why did I send all this together even though I just want to cut out the vinyl? Well, because you can only send one file to your machine at a time, and I just think it's easier then if I just edit the parts I don't want. Like I don't need to cut this box. We've already cut the liners or the boxes, and I've already cut these. Okay, I just want to cut this vinyl. But that way I have the file I need, and I can still cut the boxes later. Not only that, I can save this to my machine, this part, and I could save it to say here, just save it to the machine or back to Canvas. I'm just going to go ahead and save that. And then what I can do is I can pull up the file again, and I'll have the boxes to cut out. Okay, so that way I don't have to keep running back and forth to my laptop. All right, with that said, one of the things I want to tell you is about the settings. So we're going to click OK. We're going to select Cut. When you're cutting vinyl, I like to turn half cut on. And then That's all you need to do normally for most vinyl on your STX125 machine. However, this is really thick vinyl. I'm using this nice holographic vinyl, okay, and it's from Arteza. I will have a link and a coupon in the description of this video. Okay, it's called, I can't show you the whole pack yet because I'm going to have to move my camera to a different angle, but it's really neat holographic vinyl. And I've also used some of their white vinyl. I'll link to that. I'll probably be using some other solid colors, but this one is pretty thick. Okay, so I need the half cut on, but then when I go into here, I was slowing down the speed a little. The default was 5, and it seemed to be better when I slowed it down to about a speed of 3. And it seemed better when I increased the pressure a little. I think I increased it all the way to like 5, just to cut all the way through this vinyl. But again, you're going to do test cuts, and you're going to see what your settings are, and you know, do what works for you on your machine. Every machine has a different personality. We'll see in a couple minutes after I cut out this vinyl. Okay, I've cut the vinyl, unloaded the mat. I'm just in the process of weeding and transferring this to my little boxes. You just want to use some little weeding tools, like these are just tweezers, or you can use my little take your pick tool by Stampin Up. And I like to take some of the old vinyl that still sticks and just sort of stick my old pieces to it, or else they get caught back up in your machine. See, usually that's a little bit looser. I'll show you the rest of the vinyl too in a minute. I just wanted to make sure that I recorded a little bit of this so you can see the process. Okay, I took one ear out. I took one eye out. Let's see if I get the mouth. This is that cute little Halloween. See, pick it up like that. It helps me. Okay, so then I have a bat left. I have one boo over here. I have the little boo we'll put on the little box. And then you want to just put some transfer tape on it. Transfer tape's reusable. Helps you, see, you push it down, it helps you lift up. Okay, let's see. What box could I decorate? Let's find a box. So what I want to do now is put this on a clear, tiny treat box. Or a card envelope, okay? Or a box of cards. I'm sorry, crafty friends. Here we go. Here's one. We'll use this box here. I thought I had some that weren't put together yet. So that's, which way is the front? That's the front. So I'm going to put boo across the top like that. And you could use your spatula. It helps you apply it on there. Or sometimes it's just, if it peels off easy, you can just rub it on there with your fingers. Stick a couple bats on there if you want. The bats you can just peel off there. I think the pressure might have been a little too high, but it didn't cut all the way through the vinyl. There you go. There's a little bat sticker. Okay, and then there's this one I put on the top of other boxes. This one I put on the bigger boxes. And I could also put it on the card boxes. All right, so you get the idea. And I'm going to clear off my table and be back in a minute to show you all the projects. Thank you. In the next part of this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to weld a word inside of a shape. We're going to write boo, and we're going to have it welded inside a ring. Okay, so let's put a circle onto the mat. I'm just closing the shapes panel to give us more room. We'll move the circle down here. Now in the edit panel, we're going to resize the circle. So we'll make a circle that's 2.25 inches wide. And then I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate that circle. And the second circle, I'm going to make 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches wide. Okay, we're aligning them as we learned to do. Now we have, if you were to just cut this out right now, you would actually have a ring. Okay, so that's what we want. We want a ring, but we were going to put the word boo across the inside of that ring. There's something you need to know, and that is something called divide. So to illustrate this, I need to fill in the inside circle. Now, in the layers panel, when I go to the layers panel, it helps me select objects a little easier. So I'm in the layers panel, I'm selected the inside circle, and I'm just going to fill it in with a color, only to illustrate this concept. All right, so we have a solid, even though it would cut out as a ring because both black lines would cut out, we have a solid circle in the middle. So if I were to take, let's just take the word boo over here. I had to ungroup it first. We take the word boo, and if I were to try to weld that inside the shape right now, it would just turn into the middle of the circle. It really wouldn't, you wouldn't see the letters boo because the circle has an inside. I need to divide and get rid of the inside of the circle so that I can weld the boo to the outer ring. Okay, so I'm just gonna select these objects again, these two, the two circles. And I'm gonna go up to Edit, Process Overlap, Divide. Okay, so the color, it changed back to just being regular color. Now, what I've done is I've divided these two shapes. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take away the middle shape. I'm taking out the outer ring. Okay, watch what I do. Okay, you don't even notice that I did it. In other words, now, now the inside is hollow. The inside of that ring is hollow. So now I can weld the word boo to the inside of that ring, which I wasn't able to do when there was a solid shape in there, in the middle. The one that was red. Okay, so we need to put the word boo into the shape. So let's zoom in to give us some more room. Now what you want is you want the edge of these words touching the inside ring. I want the edge of that letter and the edge of that letter. I'm using the little rotation handle. A little bit bigger. All right, I think I've done it. So now I have, let me zoom in some more. Okay, so now the edges of the word are touching the inner ring. Okay, so now I can make this all one shape, and then I'll color it in so you can see it better. So select all three objects. We're going to weld them together. It's really just two objects. We have a ring and we have the word boo. So we're really just, we're welding these two objects together. Go to Edit, Process Overlap, Weld. Okay, this is a lot easier to cut out. Now you're just cutting out one piece of vinyl. And that's what that would look like. I'm just filling it in with the color so you can see that that's one object you'll be cutting out. And then you would weed out the pieces that you don't want, like all these extra little pieces, and then you'd have just one piece of vinyl to decorate with. All right, so I hope that brought together those concepts for you of welding shapes to fonts. And there's one more thing I want to show you before we go look at the projects. This is another little box insert I created for behind a pumpkin. We have this pumpkin punch. It's actually called an apple builder punch. And I wanted to create little boxes to put behind the apples or the pumpkins. And I wanted the boxes to hold candy. So I created these little flaps on the side of the boxes. So I started by welding these two rectangles together like on the left, and then I added another shape, this shape here. Okay, I rotated that shape, I duplicated the shape. Let me just turn it so you can get a better idea of what I did here. See, that is the shape I used to weld to the rectangles. Okay, and what that did is it gave me these little flaps that I was able to glue. I did some scoring, I did all the other skills you learned about, but then I have little flaps that I was able to glue. And then each little box holds 3 Dove chocolates or 2 Hershey Nugget treats. And I was able to glue those together and make myself little pumpkin boxes. So I'm going to be showing you those in this last section of the tutorial. So I wanted to give you an idea of how I made those and just to know where you can go from here. Bottom line, your ScanNCut will keep solving problems for you and help you with your craft projects and make it easy to do mass production of craft products, especially for the holidays. All right, we'll see you in the next video where we sum up this tutorial and show you the final projects you can create from all these skills that you just learned. Thank you. Crafty friends, in summary, I'd like to show you the vinyl that I used, the holographic vinyl from Arteza. And the website coupons will be linked in the description. Here are all the different colors that come in the pack. And the first one is the one I used because of the purple. See how it's purple, right? And then it's like orange. It takes on colors of Halloween. I mean, pretty much I have every holiday covered. And then I store my white ones in there. It doesn't come with white vinyl. I just store my 12 by 12 white sheets in there. All right, so now I'm ready to show you the Halloween projects. So this is the one we just made together in this tutorial. This is another one we just made in the tutorial. Oh, sorry, gotta put it like at an angle so you can see. Okay, that's another one we just made. Where that's the other vinyl I just cut out. Okay, I have to change the angle or everything's gonna go a little wonky. Okay, we'll put that on there like that. All right, then here's one that I just cut out with the vinyl, and this is the liner. That's the liner we just cut out in this tutorial. Okay, so again, I just love the way the colors shine. Okay, so we started out in this tutorial, and I talked about liners. I talked about solving how the ScanNCut can solve a problem by creating liners for us for lining these little card boxes. Okay, so we welded shapes together. We welded 2 rectangles together and we scored them. Okay, so this is the kind of project you can come up with that. So this is the Magic in This Night Designer Series paper, which I showed you. This is ribbon that goes along in that suite. All these products are available August 4th with our new mini catalog. It's called Metallic Mesh Ribbon. Okay, and then this little die came out of one of the little treat box dies, I believe. We just cut all these out. So we cut all these liners out using the ScanNCut. Okay, then we learned how to weld letters. That's how you got the boo. Okay, so that's we just cut the bats out of the font. So you learned how to do all that with ScanNCut and welding. Okay, here's another. I showed you how to just use some icon fonts, and that's how I got this cute little Halloween cuties character. Again, all this will be linked in the description. I use so many different products and websites. There's the liner for the clear tiny treat boxes available now. These card boxes available now. Just that little mesh. Here's another one, holographic vinyl. This ribbon I used on that one's retired, so I have little candy boxes. So I have lots of Halloween candies. I'm just doing all kinds of stuff with those. Okay, then here's one with wrapped in twine. I wrote the boo, I think it was only 1 inch, and then some more holographic vinyl. Okay, then I showed you how to weld font, a word, to a shape, to the ring. Okay, so this is how that's what that looks like. Welded together, cut out in vinyl. Okay. And then I showed you how, in the last part of the software tutorial, sorry for the glare, we'll just turn it like that. In the last part of the software tutorial, I said, I wanted to teach you how to make little boxes. I said, this helps me solve the problem of making little boxes for my punch. So here's my punch, and I already punched ahead of time just to show you this. So in this Harvest Hello stamp set, right, I stamped the pumpkin onto the Designer Series paper. Okay, so here's the pumpkin. I punched it out. I used Pretty Peacock to stamp in because it's one of the colors. Okay, punched it out like that. Punched out 2 of them, and I wanted a little box. I wanted to turn this into a little box. So I used the Scan and Cut, right, to put the little box behind the pumpkins. Okay, and then here's the result of that. And with the little, I even put the little top on. You can fit 2 Hershey Nuggets inside each of your pumpkin boxes, or you can fit 2 of 3 Dove chocolates. And soon they're going to come out with the Halloween Dove chocolates. They lay and they lay straight up, which I like because I used this last year. In fact, here's what I used last year. I used A+ Teacher and I embossed it. So that's what I was using last year. I made the boxes out of this one. Okay, so this was new to me this year, this box. This box was a new project for me. And these I've done before. So if you want to see how I did this box before with using snowman treats for Christmas last year, I'll link to that related video when I get a chance. It might take me a little while, but there are all the ways to apply what you learned today. Everything I did, everything in all these tutorials involves welding, and welding shapes, welding letters, and welding words to shapes. So I hope you understand the concepts, and I hope you'll apply these to your own projects. And we will see you next time. This is the Papered Chef. Thank you for being my supporters on my YouTube channel. I appreciate you all. Thank you.